Does anyone have a question about yesterday? It was pretty clear enough then. I wasn't too heavy. Sometimes I worry I'm a bit heavy with it all, you know. And then were people able to practice that kind of body awareness meditation at all? Did anybody get to do that over the evening or morning? Yeah, that's right. That's all right. We're going to do it again. I would like to start with just welcome everybody. Is anything, David Minoshi, do you have anything you need to say? No?
No, I think
No,
we're good. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Yep. Welcome again.
Well, I thought what we'd do is maybe I'd like you to see the tonkas more than me, but maybe I should have a little bit more of me there. Let's just start with becoming present, but I'll give you an idea what I wanted to do today. It may end up being just one long meditation. So if it gets to be like you're concentrating too hard or something, just stop and just just listen. Or maybe I'll be able to, maybe we'll stop at points along the way, because what I'd like to do is sort of break it up into our preliminaries, which are our meditating on the 4 conditions and refuge and bodhicitta, motivation, and then do the body scanning meditation that we did yesterday, and then go on from there. And I'd like us to experiment with looking at what it means to be in our meditation, what it means to be present and have an open heart and awareness. Because I've just decided, I mean, there's other people use other words for this, but that's kind of like the preliminaries. You have to go through all that. And of course, those things can be practiced themselves for years before you really get the experience of it. But so I'm hoping to share with you the way I have learned to experience it. And because most of you know, I've spent a lot of time in retreat where, Catherine, you do get to experience things. So I'm not a scholar. I'm not a Buddhist scholar. I do, understand a lot about it, but I'm not by, the things like FPMT Master's Program, basic, that all came along, way after my time, and I'm too old to do it. So I just work with what I've learned from my gurus. So we'll do that. We'll take some time, and we may stop after each one and have a chance for you to ask a question about recognizing what presence, recognizing open heart, recognizing awareness. And I suppose you could say presence is another word for developing shamatha, calm abiding. And the open heart is still the open heart, that's loving kindness, the seed of bodhicitta. And then awareness is what becomes eventually vipassana meditation, emptiness meditation. But I prefer the idea of just, rather than trying to just focus on that or get that, or, this is what I'm doing. But I've kind of reflecting back more into what I've learned from the Kagyu tradition now, which is just letting it be there, And so we'll do that. And then maybe we'll stop by then it might be break time. And then we'll stop, because once we have an experience of presence, open heart, and awareness, which becomes, as I can't remember who said it yesterday, but self-acceptance. Because the idea of the open heart, it's not just open heart to others, it's open heart to me, So the open heart means that we don't push anything away, and I think that what happens for us, particularly in our Gelugpa training, and because it's more focused on pratimoksha and lower scope teachings, which is that we use the antidote to delusion we use is by either applying an antidote or just like pushing it away, using an antidote. And as we move along, maybe we can, begin to transform it, right? But this is like my thesis or hypothesis that I am experimenting with you on, and maybe if you keep doing this, we meet again one day, you can tell me, because what I feel is that kind of practice, recognizing jealousy, now I'm rejoicing, or recognizing hatred, now I'm feeling love, or, not allowing myself to do anything that might bring up any kind of, excitement, or, just kind of keeping my mind a little box, And what I believe, and I'm trying to sort out, is that I don't think that really helps us get to our authentic experience of an open heart, which then means it'll be much more difficult to realize emptiness, because I believe that the false self doesn't get enlightened. The false self just stays the false self. So we learn everything. We can tell you all the 10s of those and the 5s of those. We can give you all the ins and outs of a tantric practice. We can give you everything about Madhyamika philosophy. But when someone says something to you, you get angry right away. And so what's that about, And so what I feel, and this is from my experience, and I'm just purely experimenting, but what I have come to say is that you can't work with a conceptual mind. Emotions are not conceptual. Emotions are in your body. Delusions are in your body. That science shows that. The neuroscience tells us that. So to try to think that I'm going to control my mind with a thought is totally ridiculous. It's like it can work if you're really tight, or if you started out, and I'm not saying it's bad. We need to know all that because we have to apply that. I'm not saying that, but I'm just asking you to do this Tong-len meditation in an effective way. It's like we have to begin by doing Tong-len with our unhealthy self. That's what I was saying yesterday. So that means that we need to create an inner world where we are safe. Because the thing is, the unhealthy self developed because we didn't feel safe and we didn't feel enough connection. And so we create these patterns that were beneficial for us when we were children because they gave us this, they gave us our sense of safety. But quite often, in order to feel safe, we had to sacrifice who we were, inside. We had to deny our experience of who we are. And that denial is very, very deep. And so you can spend years doing Buddhist meditation, but if you haven't touched your denial, it's unconscious. And so then your negative mind and your negative karma is going to ripen no matter how much you've learned Dharma, because it's non-intellectual, it's not conceptual, it's deep in our subtle body. It lives in our subtle winds. And so the reason I want to do this, I'm trying to give you the reason. So why we have to do this subtle body practice, why we have to open up our body, why we have to be in our body, is first to just be grounded and present. And then our big job is to cultivate this inner sense of safety, connectivity. I'm at home within myself, because for so many people, the reason why we can't do shamatha, why we can't keep our mind on the object, is because it's so uncomfortable just to sit and be quiet. And so we can recite sadhnas till the cows come home. But when you try to just sit and be present, your mind goes here, there, da, 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 because it doesn't want to be here, because here is painful. And so what we need to do is learn to create a place where we can feel that pain with a bigger heart, with a bigger connectivity. When what I'm saying is with refuge and bodhicitta, or if you do tantric practice as the deity. So that then, this is why, you hear now like Tara Brach and different people, and Chögyam Trungpa a long, long time ago nailed this, with the idea that you need to sit with a loving kindness presence for yourself. And so the thing is, when a thought that might be an uncomfortable thought or a negative thought or a criticizing thought or a thought that you would usually use your judgmental mind to go, oh no, I don't want to think about that, I'll make bad karma, But in this situation, you want to just let it be there. And just let it be there. You're not going to do anything to it. Because what you want to do is you want to eventually you will use your analytical capacity to sort of like follow it down into you. Like, where is that coming from? What's that about? But it has to come out first and be full blown, And if you've had serious trauma as a child, you might not be able to do this on your own. You might need to be with a therapist. But you can still, do this practice along with therapy or whatever, because I think Sharon has discovered this, that when you sit with the grief or when you sit with the hatred, and it's like you have to, it's like Lama Yeshe said, becoming your own therapist, you have to use your intuition and your intelligence to sort of like know when to let it out or when to apply the idea, like if you're feeling really full of grief or something, to meditate on gratitude, or you're feeling a little hatred, but at the beginning you have to, you can't just push it away, Do you understand what I'm saying, right? So I don't want to spend the day talking, so let's get started. And so that's what we're going to do. So then in the end, once you have your present, you have your open your heart, you have your awareness, then that's when you really focus on your heart and start to do the Tong-len. And you can just kind of do Tong-len kind of open, like to yourself and all beings. But then as you get into it and it becomes deeper, that's when you begin to work with your own habits, and do Tong-len with that. It's almost like you have two selves, you have your Buddha self and you have your other self, and the Buddha self is the one you're cultivating, and the other one is the one you're just feeding it love and taking away its pain and feeding it love. So you have to be able to hold both, in your mind. So I'm kind of asking you for a lot, but at least maybe we'll get the groundwork and the taste of it, and then if it's something you're interested in, you can take it and work with it. Okay, so let's get started. Unless anybody has a question first. Anybody have a question first? Okay.
Yes, one question I have. I didn't catch very well if when you have those negative thoughts, is a kind of result of Tong-len upon the negative self, or something like this.
Yeah, well, I prefer to call it the unhealthy self. It's not negative. You see, I think I don't even like to use the word negative. We talk about negative karma. We aren't bad people. We just make mistakes, and so I prefer not to use like my negative self or my negative karma or my, because it's just not the way it is. I think.
Can I interject? Because I think that it's more the adaptive self rather than the unhealthy self.
That's even a better word. Self. Who's saying that? Is that Sharon? Who's saying that? No, that's even better, Sharon. Carrie. Yeah, Carrie. That's even better. Let's change that, because I said this is a work in progress. That's a much better way to put it. I was just, yeah, it is the adaptive self, or I think
that's how it's formulated.
Yeah.
So you think
some people call it the false self. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's sort of the self that has to adapt to a very hostile environment, and so you use different defenses. So it's sort of an adaptive.
That's a much better word. I really appreciate that. And who's that? I can't see who's talking.
It's Carrie.
Okay, yeah, I want to Carrie. Yeah, so I appreciate the better language, because I'm still it's definitely the adaptive self, and it's not doesn't even necessarily have to be a hostile environment. You know, it can just be an environment where you aren't able to express your own feelings. You know, it might just be a really nice Christian household, you know. You know, your parents might have really loved you, but it's you know, and I don't think anybody's really immune to it. So yeah, okay, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, I'll cross out. I have a little three little notes here. Fantastic. So let's just begin. So the first thing is our motivation to heal ourselves, to heal others, to find our open heart, to learn to recognize our wisdom, to create a world of harmony, of care, a culture of caring, intelligence, and ultimately going beyond contaminated aggregates or these aggregates being controlled by delusion and karma. So we want to go beyond delusion. And so for this reason, the most important thing is to develop this open heart. So we can imagine the people we love around us, or the people who make us happy around us, the people we care about, or all the sentient beings we care about. And if we think about the ones that are in trouble, we allow ourselves to feel that feeling that we wish them to be free from their suffering. So rather than think that, if you can imagine a situation that actually evokes that feeling in your heart, like imagine something. Bring up a photograph on the news or a friend of yours, or you know, the bad things that happen to animals. Like this morning, there was a little lamb that had been separated from the mom and just cried and cried and cried for hours. You just so much want to help that little lamb. Don't even know if they ever found the mom. And even now, we can send out light from our heart and touch these beings. And those of you who have practiced for some time and you have some experience of not finding the I, you can also include that now. It's just light rays going out from this body. Not necessarily my body and my light rays, but a more open experience of the self. I wish them all to be happy, to experience joy in the life. And also this idea of equanimity, where it's not that we don't feel, it means that we feel equal compassion for all beings. And that great, equal, equanimous compassion for all beings comes from this state of letting go of the grasping I, but also knowing that all beings just want to be happy. So wishing them to also have big heart that's bigger than the smaller kleshas that develop of aversion and clinging, desire and hatred. Just the big, as Lama said, just the big love. Because equanimity is sort of the beginning of big love. Doesn't leave anybody out. So in our meditation today, we don't want to leave anyone out. And as you do this, you can begin to feel the body and notice your posture and begin to bring your awareness into your whole body. And then we can recognize that in our present state, we can't help beings as much as we could if we were enlightened. So we remember our Bodhisattva vow. Until I'm enlightened, may I never give up, my life be at stake, the attitude wishing to gain full enlightenment in order to free all beings from karma and delusion, from samsara. And so for this, we need help. We don't know how to do it. So then we need teachers, we need teachings, we need a community. And these particular set of teachings all come from Buddha Shakyamuni, although it shares many elements with other traditions because we all have human nervous systems, so it's all the same thing in some ways. So we can take refuge then, because that's why we take refuge, because for ourselves, fear of being in samsara, faith that by having tested these practices and done them for some time, we know they work. So it's not blind faith, it's a faith with conviction. It's experienced faith. It's the idea that, if I look at a map to the next nearest town, I can believe that map's going to take me there. So it's that kind of faith. And the aspiring faith, this is also very important, that when we take refuge, we do it with a really strong wish, Boy, I wish I could benefit beings more than I do. How I'd love to have a mind that's just full of joy and open-heartedness all the time. And so with this intention then, whatever is your merit field, whether it's Buddha Shakyamuni, Aryatara, the Lama Chopa merit field, your deity's merit field, but just what comes to mind, that is the one kind of your connection to the lineage of enlightened beings that you feel most strong. And you can kind of make them up, you can see Lama Tsongkhapa, but know that Lama Tsongkhapa is all your gurus. you know, or you can see Tara and know that Tara is all your gurus, or Chinrezi, just whatever works for you. And I encourage you to experiment with it a bit. Not today, but over time, you know. And so before we take refuge, we just take a moment to rejoice and be happy that we have a human life with the freedoms to come and do this together and learn together and share how we're going along on the path together as good friends, good Sangha. And then remembering that death can come at any time, that all things are impermanent, and I do my best to accept and befriend whatever comes my way, whatever karmas ripen. May I respond to them with a positive response rather than creating the cause for more samsara for myself and others. So remembering impermanence and karma as best as we can, you know, train in the presence and awareness and compassion so that we can adjust our responses to the world within our own minds and to others. And then just, again, understanding that everything I experience comes from my mind. And I'm doing this to free my mind from its projections and wrong concepts, to become a Buddha for all beings. So as we're breathing in the blessing of the Buddhas, the field of merit, a white light that's clearing away all of our obstacles. And as we do that, we allow this light then to open our ribs, relax our bellies, feel our sit bones on the cushion. And sometimes it's helpful to actually move your pelvis back and forth a little bit, because quite often, you know, if you're sitting kind of back more on your tailbone, it kind of makes your body cave in. So sometimes it's helpful to actually shift your pelvis just a little bit forward. And then that allows your belly to relax and make sure your pants are loose. And then that allows the chest to open and the shoulders to come down. So then you can breathe into your belly and breathe into your shoulders and under your armpits and up under the collarbones. And feel your body begin to open, using the breath to open from the inside, make it bigger. Breathe into the parts of your lungs you never use, you know, the parts of the lower back, under the armpits, lifting the breasts, way up high in the lungs. If you've ever seen statues of Vajradhara, it doesn't look like a Chinese Buddha. Vajradhara has a big, open, wide chest. We have to make room for our heart. If we sit all hunched down, how are we going to, you know, open our heart? So, you know, as much space as we can put around the heart chakra by breathing into our lungs, it actually helps. And feeling the white light going down the legs. Put your awareness into each one of your toes. See if you can actually separate, you know, my big toe, the next toe, the next toe, the next toe. Can I actually feel my toes? Or is it just like a big foot down there? So as we breathe in, it's like it goes into the diaphragm, and the diaphragm expands up and down. And it goes down, all down through the legs, and up we feel our chest opening, our rib cage lifting, energy going into the armpits and down the arms, and feeling your fingers. They're easier to feel. And feel the opening in the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. Feel the energy there radiating out. Bring awareness to the crown of your head, to your third eye, to your throat. Letting this white light go up into the head and relax your ears and your eyes, your jaw, your nose. So that you feel like your whole body is beginning to expand a little bit. Maybe it's feeling a little bit hollow, as if your breath is blowing up a balloon. Or a beach ball. And when your mind wanders off, just kind of bring it back to the breathing. Feeling your body opening. And then you can kind of move. It's like each step you do until your mind wanders and you move to the next step. Which is then we'll actually recite the refuge formula. However, I might do a little different than you, but that doesn't matter. With this great faith and compassion and desire to get out of samsara. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the virtues I collect, by the virtuous energy I collect, by the practice of the 6 perfections and all the teachings, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. So after you say that, you breathe in yellow light into all these pores, going feeling down to your palms of your feet, the soles of your feet and the palms of your hand. This yellow light then is bringing in all the qualities that we need, our inner qualities, especially this presence, awareness, open heart. And as the more we relax, the more it feels like every breath we breathe brings in, it's blissful. It feels good, it's joyful, it's soothing. Simple breath, nothing more joyful than just breathing. Breathing in the love of the gurus, the Buddhas, the Dharma, and the Sangha. Their love, their wisdom, their skills. Let me say it again. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. From the virtuous energy I collect by practicing the 6 perfections and all the paths of enlightenment, may I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. And again, the yellow light comes in, but this time when we exhale, this kind of joyful, soothing energy, as we exhale, it goes out and touches all the sentient beings. And with that exhale, it's sort of like melts that ice cube that feels like an eye in the middle of my chest. So it becomes more spacious. So it's like the yellow light comes in, touches my sense of self and my heart, and it just sort of dissolves and goes out with all the light that touches all the sentient beings. So it's like I'm giving myself to all sentient beings after it's been blessed by the Buddhas, of course. Do it one more time. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, the Supreme Assembly, and to the Guru, of course. By my practice and my efforts at the path of enlightenment, that includes the 6 perfections and, the whole scope of Buddha's practices. May I become a Buddha to benefit all sentient beings. And again, the light, the yellow light, or if you like, you can see it 5 colored lights. And those 5 colored lights are the essence of the wisdoms of the Dhyani Buddhas. Comes into you. This nice way of continuing to keep it keeps the body lifted and it keeps the mind alert. So we continue to keep our mind on the breathing. Throughout the whole meditation, there's always a part of my mind that's paying attention to my breath and my posture. I don't get so caught up in the meditation that I let that go. I'm constantly breathing in the blessing of the Buddhas and giving it to the sentient beings. And as I give, my sense of self becomes vaster and vaster and vaster until I can't find it anymore. And when you have extraneous thoughts going on, just come back or let them be there, but you don't have to pay attention to them. Just keep coming back, coming home. This begins to become like home. And we add the sense of non-judgment, acceptance, love. Everything's okay, nothing to hide. Because imagine that as we're breathing in, we're also breathing in this unconditional love that the Buddha has, that the Guru has, that the deity has, and that I have for myself and all sentient beings. And like we do in Tantra, we're bringing the future into the present. So I have this unconditional love for myself and all beings. And every time I breathe in, it gets stronger and stronger. And as I breathe out, I'm able to feel it more and more because my sense of self is melting into space and going out to all sentient beings. So we keep focusing on the breath in and out. And if you're drowsy, you focus more on the crown of your head and bring your energy up to the crown of your head and into your third eye. Just pull it up. And if you're agitated, then focus more on the lower parts of your body. You can even bring your energy, imagine that all that agitation is going down through your lower doors and into the earth. Or do both. And then we take a moment to feel gratitude to the gurus, the teachers, the Dharma, and to me, or you yourself, for creating the space in your life to enter the path and to practice. How wonderful is that? And then we can make in this case, our offering is our practice. Our offering is our intention to grow the good heart, because that's the best offering we can offer the gurus and the Buddhas. That's what they want. And so then we can make a request. And this request today will be that we can learn to really use Tong-len to benefit myself, open my heart, begin to recognize more and more the true nature of my own mind through this practice, and to become a more kind, sensitive, listening, caring human being, and to become an agent for change in my culture. And then if you have a particular request, like some issue in your life that needs healing, you can do that now, or someone else's life, or help, whatever you want to ask, just ask. Continuing with the breathing in and out. And then again, making a really strong, heartfelt wish to realize the two truths, and realize the union of Bodhicitta, the two Bodhicittas, compassion and wisdom combined into one. Then whatever is your object of refuge, but however you usually dissolve it into the drop at the heart, and we do that. Continuing to feel the loving presence of the Buddhas, our friends with us, everybody in the Zoom is with us, helping us. And then that drop comes to the crown of my head. And it's a very powerful drop of enlightened energy. It enters into my crown, and white nectars and rays pour throughout my body, purifying everything that is, karmas to do with my body. Any kind of, worldly karmic, past, present, future, body karma being purified. Continuing to breathe, breathing in the blessings, sharing them with the exhale. Feeling the spaciousness of the body, spaciousness in the mind. When the drop comes down to the throat and the red lights go out, purifying all these karmas we have with speaking and subtle bodies. Verbal, all of our verbal chatter. And then the drop comes down and sits in the center of our heart. I think we all know about heart chakras, center of our heart chakra. And we think my mind is inseparable with the mind of all the deities, the mind of all the Buddhas. And we continue to cultivate this sense of care for others, this warmth. We still have the sentient beings around us. And, with our exhale, we begin to feel less and less grasping at our heart. I think most of us have done enough meditation looking for the I. We don't have to look for it. We just know we can't find it. We'll just take a moment, because it was just the Dalai Lama's birthday. In one meditation, I've heard the Dalai Lama teach for many, many years now. And I think he's even said it's his favorite one. It's called the all-encompassing yoga. And yeah, you could do this with Tong-len, I believe. It's sort of a form of Tong-len. But you visualize at the heart a moon. And the moon is your compassion. So again, as best as you can, remember something that you feel, a feeling of love and compassion in your heart. So it's not just something without a feeling. And then on this moon is just a Vajra, a regular old Vajra. It's a golden Vajra. And this is the mind that understands the lack of inherent existence of self and others. So whatever experience you have of that, even if you just imagine it. So we just see that very tiny in our heart, maybe the size of a pea or a lentil. So then we can, it's your choice. You can choose, we're not going to go into the thing about the adaptive self yet. Let's just work with very simple idea of either myself or a person that we know and love, or all sentient beings, however, whatever works for you. But we're going to keep this all-encompassing yoga in our heart and see this as the engine, or what dissolves the obstacles. So now we just keep breathing, and remember to keep this sense of this open body, feeling the breath. And so what helps to do this is as you breathe in, you can feel it coming in through all your pores. And if it's uncomfortable for you to begin to think about taking on anybody's suffering, then just take on your own. And it can be just the simplest thing as like my ignorance. You just start with something very simple. But still, when you breathe in, you feel like you're breathing in light through all your pores. And with that light, as it comes in through your pores, it sort of goes through your body and your mind and collects whatever it is that needs purifying into the heart. And so then when it gets to the moon and the Vajra, which are the essence of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, his mind, they're just vanished. And with the exhale, if you can remember gratitude or joy or these feelings, you don't have to use words, but just get the feeling of it, that's what goes out. And out as far as you can imagine, touching all the beings. And you don't have to do anything. You just have to believe it's happening. Well, the only thing you have to do is keep breathing, feeling the whole body. This is where the presence comes in. This is being present. And the open-heartedness comes from what we're doing. Remembering things, bringing to mind a sense of unconditional love inside of myself, for myself, first of all. It's as if the Dalai Lama had his hands on your shoulders And you would just bathe in his love. Because he loves you no matter what. You love you no matter what. I love you no matter what. Everybody in this Zoom loves you no matter what. And then the awareness comes just by paying attention. It really doesn't matter if your mind wanders, as long as you notice it and come back. But as best as you can, even as the mind begins to wander, just pay attention to it and look at that. And usually it just goes away when you pay attention to it. So there's this kind of a little bit sense of an alertness that comes, like I'm paying attention, you know, I'm bright. And by feeling the light going out in all directions, it helps us to experience a field of awareness rather than a sense of I. Because the mind, the true nature of mind, is beyond time and space. And so as we cultivate just paying attention, simply feeling love for whatever the issue is, for myself or others, and staying present with my breathing, we can begin to actually experience the nature of mind. And the more we allow the mind to go out into space and feel its vastness, so that it's like this breathing and this compassionate in and out is taking place like a star in the sky, or like the sun in the sky. Just being there, shining this love, this light, this warmth in a huge, vast space. And that space is the actual mind. So it's important to let the mind go out. I think that's one of the reasons we have all sentient beings throughout infinite space. Because the bigger we make the mind, the less there is little me in there, you know. And just watch. And just be. Don't even watch, just be. And just let it be happening. I'm breathing in, taking it away, the obstacles, breathing out, giving wisdom, compassion, love. From the soles of my feet to the tips of my fingers to the top of my head. It's all happening. Keeping my breath in my belly, my lower back. Then we can just relax the meditation. And to end it, we can just imagine that all the sentient beings have become whatever deity you use, or Buddha, and then again, we one little bit more breathing, and we imagine that they all fall back into us like snowflakes on a lake, feeling this hollow body, this moon and Vajra, our heart, and penetrating into us. And allow the subjective sense of self to just dissolve into the moon and the Vajra, and that just dissolves into emptiness. And we're just left with pure, spacious awareness, this kind of bathed in love. And then we just dedicate again, as we always dedicate, to become enlightened for all sentient beings, and for all sentient beings to become enlightened, and for there to be peace and justice and love and in the world. So, how was that? Do you have any questions about that? Comments?
Should you be breathing in and out through the mouth or just through your
No,
nose?
just through your nose. Sorry, I didn't say that. Through your nose. And most of you
when
yeah, go on. Yeah. Who's speaking? Can I see?
and it's Chris, and I'm sorry, I've got such a terrible connection. I'm assuming that knocking off the video is helping me keep the connection.
Okay, that's fine. No worries.
I'll try. Yeah. When you're receiving the light, do you envisage it coming through the breath or through from the center of the head down?
Well, I think, everybody's different, but I think at one point I said, I through all the pores of your body. So you're breathing in through your nose, and you're actually feeling it coming into your lungs, but you're also feeling it coming in from all 360 degrees around your body. So your body's and it makes your body feel more and more like light.
That's brilliant. That makes sense. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for your question, because some things might not have been so clear, Yeah. Anybody else?
I just want to know to say that when I go into a visualization, so a meditation, analytical meditation, which involve visualizing things, I always go into my personal loop, a little bit also for my...
I can't quite hear you, Jump. I
I
can't quite hear
always
you.
go on my personal loop.
You go
Can
on
you hear
what?
me?
No,
On
you
a
go on what?
personal loop, personal loop.
A personal what? Loop. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. And I cannot visualize the full time for the meditation. And the only thing I can watch is my unearthly self, just to call it unearthly self.
What do you watch?
know.
Wait, I can't hear you. What can you watch?
The only thing I can watch is my unearthly self because I'm on a loop with it.
I see. I see. Okay, well, what I would say to that is that for one thing, we're not doing any visualization. We're not imagining, we're just feeling it. So you're not like trying to see light coming in. You're just trying to feel it. Because when you try to see it, that gets you more in your head where you're going to start spinning into yourself. But what this meditation is about feeling your body and feeling your breath in your body and out of your body. And so you don't have to visualize or see anything. You just imagine that it's happening. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, but I have trouble on feelings. And in this regard, I have a question.
Yeah.
With the lung transmission, the Tong-len or the prayers, for example, how can we touch our inner self or other beings with altruism if we cannot change karma of anybody else?
Well, it's because it's for us. It's really for us. It's how we develop compassion. We can't change anybody's karma, but we can make ourselves more compassionate by imagining these things. And the other thing I would say is about when you have your loop, this is what I was saying. When you have your loop, you imagine that the loop is coming into your heart. Okay? You can imagine it's almost like, what do you call vacuum cleaners in Italian? You know, the thing that cleans the carpet? You know,
Yes,
it sucks
yes,
everything
the
up.
aspirapolvere.
Okay, so that thing, you imagine that the moon and the Vajra, your heart, you know, is taking that and bringing it in and dissolving it in this love. And if you can't feel love for yourself, you can feel the love maybe of His Holiness, you know, and that's what's in your heart. And it's not going to happen the first time. It's not going to happen. It might take a while. But if you continue to work with it, you know, and the other thing is, if you just are going into your personal stuff, just keep breathing. You know, don't worry about it. Just keep breathing. Keep imagining that you're breathing in love, you know, and because everybody's like that. When we first start doing breath meditation, they say in the beginning, it's like a waterfall, you know, it's just blah, blah, nonstop thinking. But that's okay. As long as you kind of have in the background this idea that I'm okay no matter what happens, it's all right, you know. Buddha's got my back. I'm being cared for. And you just, I mean, in the beginning, all you can do is watch it. You know, you just watch it and you do the best you can, not to follow it and go la 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 with it, but just slowly try to bring your attention back. And the more you can bring your attention into your belly, you know, then that helps to bring that, because what it is, all the energy's in your head, you know.
Yes.
So just bring it down. Just try to bring it down, you know. And, you know, because, I mean, this isn't easy to do in the beginning, but in the beginning, you just sit with what there is, you know, whatever it is, you just let it be there. Whatever's happening, you just keep breathing and keep, like, somewhere in the background, you just sort of know, right, I'm taking this in. And whether it's, and I didn't actually point out the whether it's the adaptive self or somebody else's thing or whatever, because if you're allowing your mind to relax, then it will flit around, and it might be an adaptive self thought that comes, like my some thought about something that comes up from your childhood or something that so you just take that one in, but then your mind flits around and maybe you're thinking about your neighbor who's sick, you bring that one in, so you can use whatever's happening in your mind to develop compassion and wisdom, because as long as you keep the breath open, try to develop the sense of spaciousness around you, utilizing the classic idea of mind like the sky, so and I mean none of this happens overnight, but the thing
Yes,
is,
I believe so, but just
but
one thing. Sorry.
Yeah,
Please,
but the thing
please.
is, you've heard this term, neuroplasticity. We just have to. It's all meditation is. The word gom in Tibetan just means habit, familiarity, and so it's like the first time you tried to do anything, you weren't very good at it, and so the thing to remember in this practice is there's no good, there's no bad, there's no right way to do it, there's no wrong way to do it. You're just allowing yourself to be with yourself in an open, accepting, loving environment, and if the breathing in and the thing is a bit too much, but I find for most of us, if we're just doing a simple breath meditation, it's more difficult than if we are, have a little bit of something else to work with, like the sentient beings and the light coming in. And Minoshi asked a question, because Rinpoche said that this is a lot like the Vajra breathing. And Vajra breathing is a completion stage practice that is connected with the Gurya Samaja Tantra. And what that is, it's a very similar meditation. I preferred this one because it's more about compassion. And I think when you get to that stage, you've already developed compassion. But all that is, Minoshi, if you never heard of it, is when you breathe in, you hear an om. And when it's at your heart, you hear an ah. And when you exhale, you give a hum. So it's the same thing of connecting some kind of a little bit of cognition, with breath. But in this case, in the Tong-len practice, it's I think more powerful because you are breathing in, where it is that needs to be dissolved, and breathing out the love and compassion. Okay. And if you want to, you can also just breathe in compassion and breathe out compassion. If it's for yourself, just breathe, just keep pulling it in, or like in the Vajrayogini practice, Rinpoche said that the yoga of benefiting migrators, when you're just sending lights out to all this, it's the same thing. So it's just this idea of and this whole hollow body thing will evolve into the deity, So it's like, so it's very important, as much as you can, to feel the breath all through the body and the pores opening and the light around you and the spaciousness around you, and just do the best you can, But those are the basics, and you just work with it. And Geshe Jumpa Wangdu, who was Lama Yeshe's best friend, who attained enlightenment in one lifetime, he said, this is the path. This is the way to get enlightened. Just something as simple as this. Pretty cool, huh?
Yes.
Of course, he did all the other stuff too, but because it comes down to, it's a very beginning meditation, but it can also be a completion stage meditation, because you can see, as you're breathing in, as you get more advanced, you're breathing the winds in the central channel, right? Yeah.
So you mean to do those meditations on the inner self without thinking about accumulating karma mentally, with maybe maliciousness or aversion or
you try not to, you really don't want to think about much of anything. Like, you just want to let the mind go and not have so much of volition, so much. The only thing you are really working with is keeping it's almost like a band, there's a bass and a drum that's always playing in a rock band, doom, 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 doom. That's your breathing. It's just I'm breathing in, I'm breathing out, I'm bringing, and then the light and the love is more like the melody that the singer in the band is singing, And so, but the really important thing is keeping. I mean, Trungpa, you might have heard me say this before, but Trungpa Rinpoche said that if you divide, your meditation is a holistic experience. It's not about intellectual. And he said you should always, a quarter of your mind is on your breath and your breathing. I think I remember what he said. A quarter of your mind is paying attention, like am I flitting off? Am I coming back? That's how you build awareness. And a quarter of your mind, and I love this, is love for yourself. Within the whole environment of it is this sense. And so in the beginning, that's how you grow it. Because in the beginning you use this meditation to learn to feel love for yourself, so that you start creating this safe space. And the reason I like to connect it with refuge is because then as soon as you sit down to take refuge, and you start breathing and you develop bodhicitta, then you immediately feel safe and you feel loved and you feel open. And that sets the ground for your meditation. Oh, so that's only 3 things. What's the last thing? Oh, and the last thing he says is just be spontaneous, be open to what's going to happen. Because the reason we need to be spontaneous is because according to all the great Mahamudra masters, the realization of the true nature of the mind, because it's non-conceptual, because it's beyond concept and beyond time, we can't get it through study. We can't get it through learning. We can't get it through intellectual understanding. I mean, it helps us, but at some point you have to let go of that and just pray really hard, because it's the blessing. It's a blessing. It's something that just comes out like a bird flying through the sky and poops on you, just boom, And but the more, so that's why the refuge and the bodhicitta and the longing, but the part of you then of the 4 parts, I'll repeat them again, is just being open. Because if you stay open, then something spontaneous might happen, and there will be the blessing. But if you're constantly holding, I'm doing this and I'm doing that, and I'm watching this and I'm doing that, or if you're visualizing, you're not open to receive the blessings. So here's the 4 again. First is body breathing, what we did in the beginning, body breathing. The second is an inner environment of total acceptance and non-judgment for who you are and what your thoughts are and what you've done in the past. Just let it be. Like Mingyur Rinpoche's whole thing about when he talks about meditation, just be with it, whatever it is, just be there with it. So just be present, and the breath and the breathing help you, present with this open awareness. And then the next one is the technique. And the technique here is we're breathing in, we're breathing out, and whatever that is, we're breathing in, taking away suffering. We're giving love, whether it's for me or for my dog or for the people in, Ukraine, or the people in, Syria, or whatever, all the animals and the abattoirs in the world, and the thing is to find the ones. This is why I can't teach you. You have to teach yourself. Find the ones that actually make you feel something, the compassion in your heart, and then the last one is just being open. And so this is basically, I call it a Mahamudra meditation with a big heart, with an open heart. And then you do both at the same time, So it's time for our break. So let's take a break for 30 minutes. So we'll come back at 5 minutes after the hour. And then I hope you'll have some questions or something, and then maybe we'll just do a little more practice. Is that all right with everybody? You're cool, Dave? Minoshi?
That's great. Thank you so much.
Okay. I had trouble getting back in again, so I'm sorry. I had to fiddle around with it. So
We were saying
Yeah.
Tara mantras to persuade your laptop to cooperate.
yeah, I don't know what it is, but I have to anyway. Something about this being Zooms and stuff. Okay, so welcome back, and let's just remember why we're here to grow our own good heart and create culture around us with the open-hearted culture of awareness and kindness, and ultimately using that to attain enlightenment. So welcome back. And did anybody have a question that came up over the break that we'd like to chat about? Or a contribution? I mean, Deki Lee, there's some of you here that, you know, could add to this. I mean, I'm not, you know, like this is the thing, you know. I mean, we can have a bit of an open forum if you want. So, yeah.
Paula, I just wanted to mention that when I'm having problems with Zoom, I clear my cache in the browser, and that seems to work.
Okay. I'll try that. I didn't have a lot in the browser, but I'll try it. What I finally do is I restart the computer, and then it goes, I restart the computer, and then somehow it's connected to the Zoom because it says then I'm on a meeting. But when I try, it doesn't, it's okay.
Yeah.
I've kind of got the drill now, what I'd have to do, and it doesn't connect. So, but thank you. Yeah.
Did you update the Zoom? Update?
I can't hear you very well.
Did you update the Zoom?
Yes, it always does that. It does it itself. Yeah.
Minoshi and I had a brief conversation. We were talking about imagining breathing through all the pores in our skin, and that was very nice. And then even thinking about breathing through our bones.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, there's a Qigong practice called bone breathing, and it's really a good thing to do. You just imagine you're breathing into your bone, breathing Qi into your bones, you know. In some ways, it's like a Qigong practice, isn't it?
Yeah. And then that led to a conversation on doing Tong-len with dissolution.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think if you're really doing it, you would get to that anyway, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Could you imagine just like going through your day, just because I understood, I never heard that before, that you could do Tong-len with all the pores of your body, you know. So could you just go through your day always doing breathing in and out like that, doing
They
Tong-len?
say that that's what Lama Tsongkhapa did. I read that somewhere, that Lama Tsongkhapa was so familiar with doing Tong-len that every breath he took was Tong-len. Isn't that amazing?
It's amazing.
And to think what practice that would take, you know.
Let me ask you, when Lama Zopa Rinpoche finally arrived for the first European teaching tour, I remember reading in Mandala magazine that Lama Yeshe told Lama Zopa Rinpoche, even your breathing benefits beings in the West.
Well, if we believe in the power of our deity practice, we do too.
Yeah.
I did want to, this is Annie. I wanted to share with you something that Tong-len Rinpoche said to me many years ago when my mom was very sick and I was going to go and visit her, and I told him I was worried, scared that I would mess things up. And he said, oh, just be the good Buddhist you are in your heart and don't tell anyone what you're doing, and you may be surprised. And about halfway through the visit, my mom one day said, you know something, you're a lot nicer than you used to be. And she said, I think that Buddhism thing that you're doing is really pretty good. Don't they say love your mother and stuff like that? I think that's really nice. And then she ended up giving me all my father's Buddhist practice materials.
Oh, how cool.
She said, I don't know how to use them, but obviously you're doing something that you might need. Yeah. So I think I was thinking actually of Ani Jampa, that that has guided me a lot by just trying to be the good Buddhist that I imagine I might be in my heart whenever things are hard.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good point. Anybody else want to share something? Yes, Sharon.
Yeah. So I remember learning the Tong-len with the golden circle figure 8, where you would have someone in the circle and doing it in a way where you're taking, you know, their pain and then sending the white light. And, you know, I've told you that I came into Buddhism after the loss of my daughter. So I had a lot of like what they say the Westerners have, which is that self-hatred. I couldn't find a cure, et cetera, et cetera. So it was suggested to me, and I don't know if it was Dick Healy or somebody, was to like, if I couldn't feel it for myself, it's like, put somebody just like me in the circle to start. So think about somebody who's widowed, that's lost their child, like, what would you want to give them? So like, I really just, that allowed me to open my heart and just send so much to this person. And then over time, I brought that person closer until they became me.
Oh, cool. That's really good advice. Thank you.
I needed the distance, you know, I wasn't able to like come straight in this way.
Yeah.
So it was like,
Yeah.
related outside of myself first.
I'll have to remember that because a lot of people can't do it for themselves, but that's a really good idea. Someone who has all the same problems that you have. Yeah,
Yeah.
Deki Lee, you going to add to that?
I'm going to try. I've got laryngitis. Good luck with my voice. I think I should have been a Disney animator because this is also very visual for me.
Yeah.
So, and one thing I do with it is I imagine bringing all this dark stuff into my left nostril, and it goes down and hits a stone in my heart, and they dissolve each other. And then what's left is this big ball of light and love left. But then I breathe that out through the right. And then I ask for help. I take refuge then and ask for help to let it transform into whatever that person needs. So I find it really interesting to see, okay, well, oh my God, it turned into a teddy bear for that little girl. Or
Say it again, Deki Lee, so people can hear it again, because sometimes you have to repeat things. That's really good. Do you mind?
So I breathe it in as something dark and whatever through the left
From
nostril.
another person that you're taking it from,
Yeah.
say,
So
or yourself.
I imagine taking in all their suffering or their cancer or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And some people go, no, don't take on the cancer. And I said, yep. And then letting it compact, like come into hit the stone of self-cherishing that's in my heart. Like Mimi, my Mimi. And then that clears. And then there's just simply the wish I could help. So I'm breathing that out the right nostril. And at that point, like it's light, but I take refuge and ask, okay, what does that person need? And I sit, and this is where I go completely, okay, I'm not directing anything now, and watch what it turns into that goes and helps that person, and what happens to that person when they're actually impacted with it, because it's quite profound sometimes.
Yeah, that's very cool. I like, especially the point of taking refuge, because then you get yourself out of the way, and then whatever it is will come out.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's fantastic. I have to write that, both of them. I'll get to write them down because that's really good. Yes. Nada.
Well, spontaneously, few years ago in my meditation, I have myself in front of me, very spontaneously. And I started to use that actually, I don't know if I would say, actually to deal with my garbage.
Yeah, so instead of feeling it being, it's a bit like what Sharon said. I mean, Sharon couldn't really put herself out there, but she could put someone like herself. Yeah, but you were able to put yourself, yeah. And
But
some of this might be
spontaneous,
helpful. I was gonna say some of this might be helpful for Jampasangmo. Yeah,
okay.
yeah, but go on, you were gonna say something else.
No, just that spontaneously happened in one meditation, that all of a sudden I saw myself in front of me. And then I said, oh, maybe the same like I imagine other people, I can imagine myself and deal with my garbage that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Can I just add something, Paul?
Yeah.
When I was a nun, part of the training was to start with yourself and then, start with yourself 5 years ago, in the last 5 years, then the 5 years before that, and the 5 years before that, right until you're a baby. And then start doing other people. But
that's really good.
I didn't have enough self-love to do that. I couldn't do that for 2 years. I could do other people, no problem, but I couldn't do myself. So
isn't that interesting how we're like that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Does anybody know why we're like that? Why we're like that? I don't know. Suzette, you wanted to say something?
Christianity.
Christianity, thanks, Jeff. Yeah. Yeah.
Always blaming those Christians, eh?
Well, and I spent 20 years in the army, and it's like, no excuses, no nothing, It was quite a change to come over from the dark side, as I call it, and be compassionate.
Yeah.
I wish, Paula, that I had met you a long time ago, because I mentioned yesterday that I was like reading things from Lama Yeshe Wisdom Archives.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my guidance through things. It seemed like whatever they sent me, I thought, my God, these people are in my head. How do they know? Because every day it was something, and it was exactly. So I put it into practice, I tried it out, check it out, right?
Mm-hmm.
And there was an article from Lama Yeshe about Tong-len.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought, well, everything has worked really well, so I'll try this. Oh my goodness. I must have had an ego the size of Samsara, because I cried for 10 days straight.
Wow.
It was horrible. I couldn't, I had company coming. It was in the summer. They were coming for my birthday, and I was trying to keep it together. And I just started crying about everything uncontrollably. And I had no one to turn to, because I wasn't part of the Sangha. And I was like, why did I do this to myself? So when I think about it.
Do you remember Lama Yeshe's Tong-len instructions that triggered that?
It was bringing in the suffering of others through one nostril, holding it in your heart, and then exhaling your light and happiness to them. And, that's what I did like several times. And I did like everybody, everything, every ant, every little everything there was. And oh my goodness, I was just so much. Is that amazing? I don't know. I just couldn't stop crying. And I was like, when I look at it now, I think, was that because my ego? Because quite prideful, working on it, and I thought, oh, my ego.
I don't know, to me, it sounds like it was the birth of compassion.
Oh, it could have been. That's better than thinking that I'm so full of myself.
Yeah. I remember the first time I had an interview with Lama Zopa. I just cried. I just sat there and cried, and I must have cried for half an hour. I didn't even know I was crying about it. I just cried, So I think it's come kind of opening, I don't know. Yeah. So
I'm just
anybody else?
Can I
Yeah.
just add something? I know when I'm doing this with people doing it for the first time, that what I try to do is have that light impact their own, like a stone at their heart, so that one thing dissolves the other.
Yeah, I didn't mention that, but that is one of the main, that is actually in the Tong-len instruction.
Yeah.
Because I
so-
just didn't want to get too much into this concept of self-cherishing, but
Yeah.
if you can say it, that it's just dissolving the pain and suffering of your own mind.
Yeah.
And maybe that's good, you know, because I have a hard time with this word self-cherishing, you know, because then people think that they can't cherish themselves, you know. It's like, but you do need to cherish yourself. It's just, it's the wrong translation of that word, you know. I mean, Rob Priest uses he says self preoccupation, you know, because then we end up thinking, what it does is when we talk about how bad our self-cherishing is, it just compounds our self-hatred. You know, I can't take care of myself, you know, well, I guess the right thing to do is just continue to beat myself up all the time. Then I'll be destroying my self-cherishing. And you see that a lot with people, you know. Yeah. But yeah, I didn't use the stone, but maybe that's what people say. You know, I mean, the traditional thing is that you breathe in, you know, the suffering of others into the heart of your existent self-ego, your selfish mind, and it destroys that just by one. And it's true, because the actual truth is that if you want to take on somebody else's suffering, it does open your heart. So it actually does that. So in some ways, you don't even need to visualize it, because just the pure fact that you're wanting someone else to be happy and you're willing to take it from them, it does destroy your self-cherishing and give to others like that, you know.
Yes.
But anyway.
I think we've got Tong-len 101, which is to visualize the stone. And then,
yeah,
like, I haven't even graduated to just taking it on. It's been 30 years.
yeah. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you a story. And then, oh no, there's somebody that's better. Natalie, what do you have to say?
Yeah, I struggled with Tong-len in the past, and the stone idea doesn't personally work for me. I feel like I sort of like I hold on to the suffering, and I don't know how to release it and turn it into something else through that way. But the way you described it today really worked for me, because first you said the light rays that were coming into me, it was kind of like shepherding all the negativity straight to where it had to go, instead of like settling somewhere in my body. It went right to where it had to go. And the idea that His Holiness was there helping me.
Yeah.
Through the Vajra, that really helped. Like, oh, it's gone. He did, like, and there's no self anymore. It's just like, it's just and then it just became like, I don't know who's me and who's other people. It was just very open.
Yeah, that's why I kind of don't like the idea of the dark self thing in the middle of the heart, because I don't want to think that I have a dark stone in the middle of my heart. I want to think the middle of my heart is my guru, you know.
Yeah, it feels heavy for me. Like it feels cold and heavy, and then I just get overwhelmed because I have a tendency to depression.
And also that meditation of the all-encompassing yoga, you know, that's a Mahamudra meditation. So it's like we're also developing that when we do it this way. But I mean, I made that up, so but it seems like it's okay, you know. Why not, you know?
What was the story you were going to say?
Oh, the story was there was well, actually, this might scare you, so maybe I shouldn't say it. But you know, they say that that you shouldn't do really extreme things to your body until you've attained the path of seeing, you know, until you've realized emptiness. Because until then, you have a body and you can't harm your body. But once you realize the path of seeing, you have a subtle body. And what happens to your physical body doesn't really hurt you anymore. Like Lama Zopa, you know, Lama Zopa, he told me, you know, he said, I don't notice my diabetes or my high blood pressure. I have no awareness of it at all, you know. And so I think Lama Zopa realized the path of seeing when he was a little boy in the tuberculosis hospital, you know. So but anyway, so there was a Geshe, Chamdo Geshe, who lived in a little hut next door to Tashita Retreat Center. And the Dalai Lama's mother, I think it was, had had a stroke, and she was paralyzed on the right side. I think it was the right side of her body. And so Chömdo Geshe decided he would do Tong-len for her. And he did Tong-len and did Tong-len and did Tong-len. And then pretty soon, Chömdo Geshe couldn't use his right hand, and the Dalai Lama's mother could. And that was something everybody had seen. It wasn't just a story. I mean, that was like I knew Chömdo Geshe, and he had a bum. One arm didn't work, And somebody told me, well, that's why. So, but I don't want this to put you off doing Tong-len, because until we've attained the path of seeing, we can't take on anybody's stuff anyway, And I don't really know how it works, because this, I think it was Ani Jampa was saying that, we can't change people's karma, but, and there's another story about another guru who had, gotten very, very high realizations, and that's Geshe Jampa Wangdu. And Lama's best friend, the one who said Tong-len was the path, And when it was the 49th year for His Holiness and Lama Yeshe and all the people who were born in 1935, apparently he did a very powerful white tower meditation, and he went down and offered his life force to His Holiness and came back to his room and died. Because for him, he could transfer his consciousness anyway. I mean, he was a completion stage perfect. I mean, he'd done it, And he was another person I knew. Yeah.
The way to say that we cannot take the karma of other people is not totally true.
Well, I think it's true for us. As long as we're ordinary beings, we can't. But these were not ordinary beings. These are people who, if they hadn't attained enlightenment, they were very, very close to it. Yeah. So we don't have to worry. Yes, Jeff.
No, just similar story with, well, as you know, Paula, we have a young Rinpoche over here at the moment learning English.
Yes.
And he's the reincarnation of a very high Lama called Khensa Pema Gyaltsen Rinpoche. And Khensa Pema Gyaltsen Rinpoche was the abbot of Drapel Monastery. And he came over when I was, this is back in once again, in His Holiness 49th year. He came over to the UK, and while he was there, he had this serious stroke while in deep meditation. And everyone was so worried, and he was just laughing, He was so pleased, he was so happy. And his total realization was that he prayed to be able to take on some of the negative energy around His Holiness during that year. And as far as he's concerned, it was a sign that this has happened, for him. So, yeah.
Well, maybe that's one of the reasons why His Holiness says he can live to be 113, because all these yogis have given him their life force.
Maybe so, yeah.
I don't know how it works, but there's a lot we don't understand about it, how enlightened beings operate, Yeah.
Could I just add?
Thank you, Lee. Yeah.
We may not be able to change the karma if we're not at the path of seeing, but we can change the conditions around it, which keeps the karma from ripening at that time. So,
yes, this I believe the same. We can change the conditions around us.
Yeah.
But can you hear me?
We can
because
just
you say I have a volume problem.
I can hear you now.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
So no, I just.
Well, now we lost you. Is everybody else there?
She froze.
Yeah. Okay, maybe she'll come back in a minute. Yeah, those little cassettes at Lama Tsongkhapa Institute are kind of probably far away from the internet. Oh, there you are. Can you say it again?
Yes.
You froze up.
No, yes, sorry, my internet maybe is not so good. That's why my volume was not right at the beginning. Sorry about that.
That's all
No,
right.
I don't have anything
But
else
can you
to say. I just was talking with Deki and say that she's right. We can change the condition around us. So I'm not nihilistic with Tong-len prayer.
Well, there's a lot of studies now done by, I can't remember his name, it's a doctor in the United States, and they've been doing for years now these double-blind studies with groups in the hospitals, and the people that get prayed for recover much more than the people that don't get prayed for. So, I mean, definitely it works. Prayer works, you know, and we might not have a scientific explanation for it yet, but empirically we can see that it works, you know. Yeah. Yeah. So let's keep our prayers up for peace in the world. Has anybody else got anything else to say? I'm happy to share the space, you know.
Hello.
Hello, Marco. Yeah.
I don't remember where I heard it, but somewhere I was told that also it's possible to merge the Tong-len meditation with Tumo, and imagine to breathe in through the red channel to the navel, and then develop enough energy and fire to destroy all these karmic seeds, and then to expel white light through the left nostrils into the opposite nostril of the person we are thinking of, and trying to change.
Well, thank you. That's beautiful. I never heard that one before. That's great. There's some good things coming out of here. This is really good. I love it when we all learn from each other. Yeah, Sharon. Well, thank you, Marco. Yeah.
I was just thinking of the language when I was taught the Tong-len. So like when we bring in the dark light, we transmute it. So like that, we're just transmuting it into light. So it's not into bright light. So taking in the dark, transmuting it into white. So I've never felt that I was taking on, like my body was taking on that cancer or whatever the negative energy was, or anything like that. Like I know sometimes people are like, I don't want to breathe in someone's cancer, but it's losing that self-cherishing, or what you call self-preoccupation. And then the transmuting, I don't know, for some reason that word really spoke to me, that I'm just turning it, right? And turning it into this beautiful bright light. So I know Lama Zopa, I have to do 50,000 of them. That was on one of my lists. So 50,000 Tong-len meditations.
50,000 breaths, or 50,000.
The whole Tong-len, yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
Oh, if it's breath. Oh, okay. All I know is in his notes, he says, do it 50,000 times. So.
Well, sometimes he's told people, you know, that verse in the Lama Chopa that, you know, can I take on the suffering of others and give them out, that I know some people he's told that they have to say that 100,000 times, you know, that, anyway, I can't think of it right now, but we know what that verse is. You know, the one we say 3 times, you know, and I invest all beings in bliss, you know. May all my karmic debt sufferings of all mother sentient beings ripen upon me right now. May I give over my happiness to others and thereby invest all beings in bliss. I've heard he's told people that they have to do that like 100, you know, many thousand times or something.
I was told,
but I would assume you would be doing it with the breathing, you know, for it to make sense. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you know, sometimes. Sorry.
He talked about
Wait a minute.
the first one being the taking on the suffering of suffering, and the second one being the taking on the suffering of change, and the third being taking on the suffering. Sounded really wonderful.
Yeah, and also, I mean, the classic way is going through the realms, you know, taking on all the suffering of the hell beings, taking all the suffering of the pretas, taking all the suffering of the animals, taking humans, you know, that's also really valid. I mean, you could be doing Tong-len for hours, you know. Yeah. I think I had some Lama Zopa requested Dakpa Rinpoche to give a series of teachings on Tong-len, and unfortunately I lost my notes, but there was a commitment to that, and the commitment was every time you wake up in the morning, it's that line from Sikh Session Guru Yoga about may I never give up, though my life be at stake, the attitude wishing to gain full enlightenment in order to free from the fears of samsara and nirvana's complacency, all sentient beings. That was the commitment, you know, and to do a certain amount of Tong-len, I think. But he went through all the different kind of ways of doing it, like you've all been saying, you know. So it's really, anybody else have another version of Tong-len to share? It's been great. No. Okay, well, maybe. Yeah.
Oh, hi.
Yep. Hi, Emily.
Hi. Yeah, I follow Pema Chodron quite a bit,
Right.
and she has a video with Tong-len, and she's just doing it twice a day. So I do better when I follow somebody or do it in groups. Sorry. So yeah, so I did that yesterday and hope to do it more.
Yeah, she has a little phrase she says that I don't have it all memorized, but it's like, she starts out, I think, with myself, may I be healed, may all my suffering be may I feel compassion, may, you know, it's a few little lines she says, and then you do it for you, and then you do it for all sentient beings, and you do it like that. It's a nice, like about 6 little phrases that she says, you know, may all beings be at peace, that's it. May all beings have harmony, may all beings be at peace, may all beings feel love, may all beings be free from suffering, like that, you know. It's really nice. You know, she's fantastic, you know. And what I love about her is Trungpa Rinpoche's, that was her heart guru, you know. His teachings are so cryptic, but yeah, she's taking them and making them so available to everybody, you know. So yeah, she's great. Well, I wanted to show you guys this picture because we've all been talking about Lama Yeshe. Oh, what did I do? You all got really small for some reason. I don't know what happened. I mean, there we go. But let's see if you can see that. Because this is Lama Yeshe Ling, right? There's a picture of Lama Yeshe. And it says under here, this was Jeff's actually, it says, it's a quote from Lama Yeshe. Says, many people in the world don't understand the totality of human reality. They don't want to accept spirituality. And when they do, they don't accept scientific reality. My thought is that there must be a middle way so that people can be educated both spiritually and scientifically. It's cool, huh? Yes. Yeah. And then I wanted to read you something else, and then we'll just, I think I won't do much. We just everybody knows how to do Tong-len. We'll just do 5 more minutes of Tong-len, and then we'll finish for the day. Is that cool? And we can just speak a little bit before we go. So, but I got this new book that Ray told me about. I don't know if any of you are interested in Mahamudra. It's kind of the best Mahamudra book you can. Oh, it's backwards, isn't it? It says it's from the 9th Karmapa Wangchung Dorje. It's called Mahamudra, the Ocean of True Meaning. And I just opened it up, and you know, sometimes I just pray to, you know, and open up a book to see what it says, and I did that. And I think I just opened to page 20, and uh-oh, it's not the same place. Oh no, it was lesson 20. Okay, hold on. Oh, here we go. It's about the body. Because we were talking, I'm kind of trying to help people to get a little bit more involved in that. And I think everybody knows, the 8 Vairocana points of sitting in the Vajra posture, but this is a different little bit take on it. And it says, the purpose of correctly placing the body according to the key points. Sitting cross-legged, the downward clearing energy enters the central channel, and the mind poison of jealousy subsides, and you stay free from hindrances. Placing your 4 hands, finger widths below the navel in the gesture of meditation, the water energy enters the central channel, and the mind poison of anger subsides. Having the spine straight like an arrow and the shoulders raised like the wings of a vulture. So let me just say this. The shoulders raised isn't because you raise them, it's because your breath raises them. It's not you're not holding anything when you meditate. And the other thing people don't understand, you can move, like sitting in the Vajra posture doesn't mean that you never move. You can always be adjusting and breathing, Okay, so having the spine straight like an arrow and the shoulders raised like the wings of a vulture, the earth energy enters the central channel and dullness subsides. Bending your chin towards the chest, the fire energy enters your central channel and passion subsides. Looking with open eyes straight ahead, 4 finger widths in front of the tip of your nose with your tongue touching the palate, the wind energy enters the central channel and pride subsides and the mind becomes clear. The key point of the mind is the subtle energy. The key point of the subtle energy is the energy channels. The key point of the energy channels is the eyes. Therefore, the correct way of gazing is important. By placing the body in the 7-point or 5-point meditation posture, the 5 mind poisons subside by themselves. When the subtle energies and the mind naturally enter the central channel, which is, by the way, if you do Tong-len, that will eventually begin to happen. All conceptual activities cease by itself. The mind becomes calm and clear, and realization arises quickly. This is why the body posture is so important. If these key points are not kept and the body is reclined or crooked, conceptual activity spreads and the mind is not settled. If the body is leaning to the right, there may at first arise an experience of clarity, but then anger arises for no reason. If we lean to the left, there may be first an experience of pleasure, but then strong passion arises. If the body is bending forward, there may at first effortlessly arise non-conceptuality, but after turns into dullness. Yeah. Anyway, it kind of goes on. So the body posture is the key point so that no harm or disadvantage whatsoever is interfering and that all qualities or advantages are complete. And then he mentions what they are. And this is from Marpa, but we all know who Marpa is. Compared to all the precepts of Tibet put together, my precepts of these 5 points of the body posture are superior. If you ask how is that? Because by assuming my 5 key points of the body posture, the subtle energies naturally enter the central channel. Because of this, the tummo starts to flow naturally from the navel center. And because of this, the bodhicitta essence flows down naturally from the head center. So this is actually talking about when you actually put your feet, in the pretzel position in the Vajra posture. So, we all can't do that, but we just do the best we can. So then the bodhicitta flows and the bliss arises, and from that non-conceptuality arises naturally without need to stop conceptual activity deliberately. And through that, the realization of primordial awareness arises spontaneously. Therefore, in the beginning, the method of placing the body is important. Having become accustomed to it over a long time, the inner elements become balanced, and long life, healing of previous illnesses, and the non-arising of future ones result. And because the luminous essence of the subtle energies and energy channels becomes stronger, the lower part of the body is not harmed by the weight of the upper part of the body. Since subtle energy channels, and vital forces are well harmonized, one can sit for months and years without any discomfort. When the refined state of luminous essence is completely matured, the realization of self-luminous awareness arises effortlessly. And I just want to say a little bit more because it's important to not get tense, in all this, because as soon as you get tense, your conceptualization and your thinking and everything gets more and more and more. So even though I just read all this about, sitting in the proper posture, I often find that just lying down, because I don't have to worry about my body's taken care of, that I can often be more relaxed and have a more subtle and blissful meditation experience, as long as you don't go to sleep. And I know Alan Wallace and his shamatha retreats said that it's okay if people lie down. So if you have issues with your body and it's really difficult to sit, then I think, like, I had a friend who had a lot of issues with her body, and she got one of these giant beanbag chairs. Remember beanbag chairs? And it would just support her, however she was. And so I think it's important to try to, sit with your back straight and all that stuff. But if it just makes you painful, then, I guess what I'm trying to say is figure out what works for you. We study the Dharma, and we have, the whole template is laid out for us. But we have to take it and digest it and think about it and ruminate on it and kind of, without changing it, but just see how it will work for us. So in some ways, it's like we have a guru, but we are the ones that really have to fine tune it and figure out what we can do this life and not compare ourselves to anybody else. And the other thing that's really important is just be honest, where there's, the Pema Chodron has a book called Start Where You Are. And I always thought that was funny, because one of the main realizations I had in my first long retreat was exactly that: start where you are. And I came retreat, and there was a book of the same name. So, if we're just in a place where our minds are really, we can't sit or anything, you can do this while you're walking, you can do this. So just like, the main thing I think is to study a little bit, get what, the motivation, but then don't be too hard on yourself, I mean, I'm not saying don't do it and don't be too easy, but this thing about the acceptance of who you are and where you're at in the world, and what your limitations are, and so, because if we try to squeeze it and make it more than what we can do, then we really can't make progress. So it's very important not to think I should look at somebody else and say, oh, I should be doing it like that. You only need to do it how it works for you, and you'll know if it works or not. That's something I also think is really important. But we're almost out of time, so let's just sit and do some Tong-len, and maybe remember the things we've learned from Sharon and Deki Lee and Suzette and Marco and all the people that contributed, and especially the idea that just be your good Buddha self, and that's good enough. Thank you, Annie. So, Lama Yeshe all the time said, good enough, dear, and sounds like Chungla was the same, It's like we have to be good enough so we can move forward, right? Okay, so let's just we'll sit 5 minutes, okay? And then let's just finish. I think most everybody here knows the 4 measurables. So we don't have to say it together because we can't. But just in your mind, just, may all beings have happiness and like that. But with your breathing. And then we'll call it a day. And then if you know the dedication, and since this is Lama Yeshe Ling, I always think of Lama Yeshe with this dedication. And maybe you know it. Anyway. Gewadi nyo du da Lama Sangye Rub your name Roa Chikyam Malupam De Sala Gopasho. Basically, we're just dedicating for all sentient beings to attain enlightenment. May I attain enlightenment and lead them to that state. May the precious Bodhi mind not arisen rise and grow, and what has arisen not decline, but increase forevermore. And then we dedicate for the long life of His Holiness, the long lives of all our gurus, to the return and our future connection with Kepji Zopa Rinpoche, Chung Larato Rinpoche, Trungpa Rinpoche, all the great gurus that have passed. And if Kirti Senchor Rinpoche is out there somewhere, may we meet him, and the long lives of all the young tulkus, and may they have successful lives so they can teach us again. And for the flourishing of the Dharma, and for the flourishing of Lama Yeshe Ling, for Lama Yeshe Ling to have all the funds they need, and that the directors and the SPCs have all the help they need, and for everything to work out with the Geshe, and we wish the same for all the Dharma centers, particularly now that Lama Zopa's gone. We also dedicate for the success of the FPMT, and for Osel's life to be how most beneficial for himself and others, and for peace on earth, and the end to all wars, and solutions to the climate change, and all the greed and injustice in the world. So, and for all of you to have successful practice, and it's been really nice time getting to know everybody. It's been very friendly and like kind of down home. So I appreciate it very much. So yeah, so thanks a lot. Maybe I'll see you all in person sometime soon, one day, who knows.
We really hope so. Yeah, thank you so much, Paula, for agreeing to come here and teach and guiding us this way. And we do hope to see you here again, Lama Yeshe Ling, and maybe in person.
Yeah. Okay, so thank you all very much. Oh, I always forget to say, if you want to do more meditations with me, I do lead White Tara meditations a couple of times a month. And I think it's on the website. I don't pay attention to this very much, but Minoshi knows how to get connected, I think, to it. But also there's a website called braveview.org. And I think it's there. I'm pretty sure it's there. Anyway, you can ask Minoshi. She can help. You can just contact me,
Yeah,
Or
I'll
there's
put it in the
also
chat in a minute.
email. There's also, you can write to, and it's Braveview, the same thing, braveview5@gmail.com. So, yeah.
It's the
So
first.
anyway, maybe see you all again, and I hope you all have long lives. What? Oh, yeah, it's the first Tuesday of the month and the third Wednesday.
Third Wednesday.
Every month.
The third Wednesday of the month is Land of Joy.
Yeah.
And the first Tuesday is is it Christina in
yeah, Christine, yeah. In
over
Seattle.
Yes, in
No, where's Vancouver? Yeah. Okie dokie. Well, happy birthday to Natalie, and I hope you have a really nice rest of your day and have a nice birthday party, and lots of more Tong-len, and happy birthday to everybody else. So every day is a birthday, really. And I'm really happy to see you, Sharon, that you're, coming along and everything's going okay and you're doing really well. So it's good. So
Practice
all of you.
helps.
So thank you all so very, very much. It's been a privilege to be here, and it's good when I do this. It forces me to put my thoughts together. So yeah, thanks a lot. Okay.
Thank you.
Ciao.
Thank you, Paula.
Grazie.
Thank you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Ciao.
Yeah.
Love you all. Thank you.
Ciao, Marco and Nisangmo. Thank you for coming.